What's going on, guys? Pegasus and the Wise Guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you sub. Make sure you hit the bell really quickly, guys, before I even start the video. A lot of you guys that are in the Yu-Gi-Oh community that are my friends, y'all know who you are. Y'all hit me up while I was going through some things. For anybody that didn't know, I actually came down with COVID-19, tested positive, and had to quarantine for a little while. And the amount of close friends that know me on Facebook and the amount of people in the Kansas City area that actually hit me up and made sure I was good, I really appreciate it. I feel like I would be remiss in not noticing you guys and saying I appreciate you as friends in this crazy game of Yu-Gi-Oh! With that being said, we're going to get into Beetrooper. I really feel like this is a deck that is slowly creeping towards being meta, and it's something you should probably pick up. Without further ado, let's get into it and talk about these cardboard pieces of paper. I think in starting off and talking about the deck, it's a lot of extenders, especially with Sting the Poison being the originator that can pretty much grab anything else, and then Pin the Bullseye being one of the examples of a card that can help you extend, and pretty much all of them do that relatively easily. Just saying, just in case you've never seen this deck. But the most of the time, what you want to do is get into Armor Horn first. Sometimes you have to get into the Inzektor link, but in this specific case, you needed the extra normal summon, which Armor Horn gives you, which can help you get into the Inzektor link, which can help you to connect a card like Resonance Insect. Now, the Inzektor link serves the purpose in this deck of being basically a union carrier, and Resonance Insect actually helps you to add a high level insect to your hand, and when it's banished it also does something else, and that is dump an insect, and Goki Pole is usually what you want to dump, and then Goki Pole can help you add a level 4. From there, you usually are wanting to trigger the Atlas by tributing a monster, and that can be the Armor Horn that you're banishing 3 to put it onto the field. And then from there, you're able to put more and more resources into the game, or you're possibly banishing the Resonance Insect with that card. There's always something that you're building on. As far as using Ready Fusion, I really feel like it's an option that you should definitely consider. I'm just telling you, this card is really hard to find as a common diffusion target that you actually use, and I believe it's an original tournament pack card, and that card is like $500 or $600. So good luck with that, whichever route you pick. If you do want to play Ready Fusion, just know the target for it isn't cheap. I'm telling you that ahead of time. Again, guys, every single time, in my opinion, the baseline of the combo is to get into Armor Horn and Inzektor as fast as possible, and be aware that you can only equip in a union carrier like effect a Resonance Insect to another card. And Resonance Insect for this deck essentially is like a Ben 10. It doesn't have a restriction on any of its effects, which that always means that if you ever get any kind of support, the whole deck is going to go apeshit. That's just how this deck is, and I'm literally telling you that. This is a lot like Madolche, a lot like a worse version of Drytron. It's a wombo combo deck that can definitely do a little bit of damage, but it just needs that one more support card. That's how close this deck is to being really, really good. It's decent right now. It's a very strong rogue deck. I'm not gonna say it's the best rogue deck, but it's a strong one that you would definitely have to pay attention to and understand the interactions with. As far as this combo, guys, I was just showing the Scout Buggy. Scout Buggy being able to special summon itself. It's basically an insect tour guide. And again, you're getting to the Armor Horn to give yourself an additional normal summon. And then in this case, sometimes you would want to chain block with the bomber card that's in your hand. It can help you actually chain block and help you to actually get enough insects on the field. But this deck has a huge issue, in my opinion, with Nibiru. There's no answer that this deck has for Nibiru unless you're trying to go off the grid and try something else, maybe a Link Spider or something, and then being able to find a way to extend and then find another way to extend, or holding back. There's some kind of way that you're gonna have to find a way to deal with Nibiru until we get Cross out, obviously, and then you'd probably slip it right into this deck. Again, guys, whenever you have cards like this bomber card, you may want to use it earlier in the combo, you may want to use it later in the combo, and this one I'm using it later in the combo for the simple fact that Atlas can trigger any insect by tributing it to then special summon out a Beetrooper. Most of the time it's going to be Sting Lancer, and Sting Lancer, when he special summon, can add a spell or trap. So if you already have the counter trap, You can use it as fodder, and then remember that you can set it in the end phase. I'll show that in a combo as well. Or you can grab the field spell, and the field spell is actually a reborn at the cost of paying for the monster's original attack points. Whenever you dump Goki Pole, remember that you can only add a level 4. I see a lot of people cheating, and I'm dead serious. People that are trying this deck, they're cheating online, and they keep playing and grabbing stuff that is level 4 or lower. It specifically says level 4, which most of the time you may want to grab Retaliating C or another card that may help you extend further, like we'll talk about in a second. As far as using actual test hands, again guys, I just wanted to show at least what the deck should look like in a test hand scenario. In my opinion, if you were playing blindly against certain decks, this would be the exact combo that I would use most of the time. And you can get there pretty much with any sort of extension in your hand, because literally everything in this insect deck pretty much extends, and you just getting to those 2 links, then combining those 2 and getting Resonance Insect onto the field, much like a Union Carrier type effect off of the Inzektor, and then being able to build on that. And I feel like if you have a Contact C and a Retaliating C inside of your hand, as well as maybe any additional interruption or the interruption that the engine is going to give you itself off of the counter trap, you definitely have something. Again guys, beware that if the counter trap is actually in the grave, it can be reset if you have a Beetrooper on your field in your end phase, which is going to happen because you're going to have Atlas or probably another insect. But again, it's the same thing guys, getting to the big link, tributing by bringing the Armor Horn back onto the field, then tributing that card, and then being able to special summon out the Sting Lancer. And the Sting Lancer can either grab the field spell to help you extend, or the counter trap Flying Sting, which can reset itself. And this card is really nuts. So yeah guys, genuinely I feel like this is a solid opening for a rogue deck. As far as actual gameplay, I wanted to show against like an actual deck that we all kind of know and love, or at least can tolerate, with Salamangreat. The last game, I hate that this match got lost. I think he was going to actually win the match, and the game got lost. But as far as getting into what this deck looks like, going toe-to-toe with a deck that can actually do a little something, and being really lucky that they didn't open a ton of hand traps, and a deck like Salamangreat where they play like 12 to 15. This is generally what the deck can do. If I'm playing against Salamangreat, honestly, in my opinion and in my mind here, I'm going for a chain block with the bomber, just because I feel like I don't have another extension in my hand, so I need for that original card, the Sting, to actually resolve. As far as the Armor Horn, again, that's how you want to start, getting an additional normal summon, hoping they don't stop you with Valor or something like that, and then being able to extend into the Inzektor link, and then equipping the Resonance Insect to that, much like Union Carrier used to equip Dawn Knight. That's the fastest and most often link up that I can give you as far as explaining the card. As far as actual extension, I feel like in certain scenarios, like in this specific scenario, I don't really want to grab Retaliating C, and I didn't want to grab the Contact C. I felt that Doom Dozer is correct here. And then off of the Goki Pole, actually adding this card, in my opinion, forgive me with the names, just you guys see the names, but it's an old school card that's been out for a little while. But as far as extension, it's another card that you can banish one insect and then drop it straight onto the field. Then pulling later on in the combo, the original combo, pulling the Armor Horn back on the field by banishing 3, and again triggering the big Atlas to be able to at least start off with a relatively decent board of Flying Sting as the counter trap to stop a monster effect. The Inzektor is loaded my graveyard and my extra deck back up, you know, where I can do this all again. And then obviously we have the Atlas that's untargetable, and a counter trap. You know, like it's a lot of defense for a rogue deck. I won't say it's the greatest board ever, but it's definitely something that your opponent has to deal with. Although I do wish I would have potentially drew something better than the Doom Dozer when I actually shuffled it back, but it is what it is. As far as the foul here in this actual situation, I don't know what he was really doing. I feel like he misplayed here. I think he probably should have attributed it off the Foxy, and then I don't feel like he could have got there. Maybe it was just how his hand was. And then with foul really put a lot of pressure on that counter trap, so I felt like, well, I got to use it sooner than later. And then obviously the Parallel Exceed gets stuck in his hand because the other card, the Balinks, got taken away. He made that Chain Link too, and if I stop that, then I stop the Parallel Exceed. So I think he kind of misplayed there as well. But he still could play through my board. And that's where I'm saying is this deck isn't meta by no means, but it literally is 1 or 2 cards from being meta. It's one of those type of decks, kind of Mandolce-ish, where 1 card and all hell is going to break loose and it's going to be an actual problem that you're going to want to at least to know how to play with or play against so that you can handle it. But he ends up pushing through pretty much the rest of my board. Obviously, he can't pop the Atlas just because it can't be destroyed, which is actually semi-defensive because the card is so strong and so offensive and so much for them to deal with. Very similar to Dark Destroyer-esque or Towers-esque for the deck, that they can't actually kill you because it's so powerful on the field, and therefore you get a chance to come back. And in this specific scenario, this deck can definitely fight through at least 1 back row. I'm not going to say it can fight through a wave of back row. It definitely can't, and it's the deck's weakness, which I'll show in the deck profile, is why you should probably try to add in your side deck as much back row removal as humanly possible as far as playing against your opponent, or at least a lot, to be able to put a lot of pressure on your opponent. But again, guys, he gave me the chance to come back because he couldn't kill me because of the Atlas, and with that I could just kind of zoom right past him and then come right back into the game again by banishing 3 and bringing the Armor Horn back onto the field. It was in the grave, it was on the field, and you can still do that and then pull it back on the field, get the Inzektor link, and then you're really just all the way back to square one for your opponent. In this specific scenario here with the Resonance Insect, I added the Sting Lancer from hand, and in hand it's actually a pseudo hand trap, and being able to put 2 cards in each one from each graveyard back to the bottom of the deck. And against a deck like Salamangreat, that can actually do a little bit of damage. If you could obviously envision a deck like Sky Striker being able to do that to a Ray potentially is something that you have to take account of, as it's random, and when rogue decks can do that, you definitely have something cooking. So again, guys, in this pseudo profile, I guess I always say that don't go by anything that I'm doing. I'm really just showing, like, on paper. If I were helping somebody build it like right before a tournament, this is exactly how I would probably build it for them. But it takes game after game and testing after testing after testing, and I haven't put in enough games. I'll probably put in 5 or 10 games with this just to get a feel for the deck. And the deck is definitely, it could be optimized obviously a little bit more. I do like prosperity, but I also like being able to stop my opponent in playing cards like Retaliating Sea, and I definitely think at least 1 Contact Sea is something you should consider for the deck. And you obviously need some kind of other protection, so to speak, for some of the other stuff. Again, with the Ready Fusion, I'm just telling you guys that card is like $200 something or more for the super rare one. I think it's way more than that actually. And then obviously with some of the commons, I don't even think the common is cheap. So I'm telling you, if you want to play Ready Fusion, just be prepared to spend some money. As far as the extra deck, I wanted to show the trap trick stuff. Because the rank 4 can actually special summon back an insect, that's why it's down there, and it's Cicada King and all that stuff. But again, with the side deck, you have to deal with people's back row or you're going to get smoked. I'm telling you, you have to prepare for back row decks because this deck can't really handle it. The link that was just on the screen just now, I'm working on something. Inzektor has an endless loop with this deck, and I'm going to be messing around with it some more. But this literally is just like all the insect stuff that you really want to pay attention to. I forgot Myrmelio. Myrmelio is definitely a card that you have to give consideration because of Trap Trick, being able to grab a specific, maybe it's Gravedigger's Trap Hole, whatever the card's name is, or Bottomless Trap. You know, like, you have to mess around with it. Obviously, a card like Danger Mothman, you can play Terror Top. There's a lot of different techs that you can use, guys. As far as other YouTubers, there are other YouTubers that have put in a lot of work on this deck, and they all know what they're talking about. So I would highly recommend looking at their links that I put down in the description. And I would highly recommend picking this deck up. It's not too shabby. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm out. YG baby. Pegasus out. Sayonara.